Is there a second cause of death for Keke Jabbar? Because let me tell you, her uncle took to live on social media, pointed fingers at some of the cast members of Love and Marriage Huntsville, and also the show itself for Keke's death. And I was like, wait, I thought last week we got an official statement that the cause of death was carbon monoxide poisoning, that it was a tragic accident. Well, according to the uncle, he said, had it not been for that dumb show, Love and Marriage Huntsville, Keke would be alive today. So I was like, wait, so that statement last week, was it a tragic accident or was it self-inflicted?
She would be here if it wasn't for that stupid show.
Anyway, as you guys know, in our last video, we talked about the questions raised from the cause of death given by the family. The statement was given to a YouTuber by the name of Joanne Jenkins. The statement the family gave just did not add up. And listening to what the uncle said over the weekend, yes, it was right that we had questions about that statement. After that video went up, shortly thereafter, her uncle was online basically saying that something other than what the first statement was happened to Keke Jabbar.
It sounds like she offed herself in that doggone car. Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to put what the uncle said. Remember, this was a live show and I'm going to add it on the screen. So Keke's uncle took to live, making a public announcement. He called out Letitia Scott, her mother Wanda, and Letitia's husband.
Wanda, it can get to her daughter, it can get to her son-in-law, it can get to all those people on that show.
You guys, the cast of Love and Marriage Huntsville, you took Letitia down to Texas and you alienated her. Okay, that had a negative impact on Keke emotionally, mentally. It brought her down so much. The uncle said that the family spent hours upon hours and hours trying to reassure Keke and trying to build her confidence back up was one of the things he said.
The way that y'all treated her in life, y'all got her down there to Texas and you alienated her. And my folks had to spend hours and hours and hours on the phone trying to reassure her, trying to help build her confidence.
Mentally, Keke was being affected. Let's also not forget that in our last video, we played a clip. Keke pretty much confided in Melody that she was struggling with addiction. Now, we also learned that Keke was allegedly trying to clean up. How far in the recovery process Keke was, we don't know. Now, let's quickly mention some of the things that were said in the official statement given to family friend YouTuber Joanne Jenkins. One of the things that stuck out in that statement was that the family was able to give us a cause of death within 24 to 48 hours, which is unusual for an autopsy to be released that early or given out that early, right? The family said Keke did not overdose. Keke did not take her own life. Keke loved her family, loved her kids, loved her husband. She did not want to leave this earth and that she had a lot to look forward to. Then they also informed us that Keke left the sister's house at 4 a.m. morning, drove to her home, drove in the garage, closed the door, we assume, turned off the car, fell asleep in the car. Husband comes 7 a.m., finds the wife unresponsive, and then they tell us that she died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Several questions were raised by that statement. Oh, let me not forget that the family did also tell us that there was a problem with the car. What the problem was, they didn't tell us. So because it was carbon monoxide poisoning, we could assume that the problem was exhaust, right? One thing I liked from the previous video is at least some people got educated that sleeping in your car in enclosed spaces where there's not proper ventilation, especially a place like a garage, and running your car, you could get poisoned by carbon monoxide easily, okay? So don't do that. Watch that previous video to get more information. I saw somebody say, I often fall asleep in my car. I will never do that again, she said. I'm glad I did that video. If one person learned something, if we were able to save a life, great. That video, to me, worked well, okay? But anyway, so we had questions about the autopsy. That was too quick for the autopsy to be released, for the family to publicly say what the cause of death was, right? 2, they told us that she did not overdose and she did not take her own life. It was a very defensive statement. 3, they said that Keke is sleepy, meaning she falls asleep wherever she is, whenever she feels sleepy. So I saw some other people say, if the family knows that, why would they allow her to be driving at 4 a.m.? The other thing we were asking is, why was she at her sister's place at 4 a.m. that late or that early in the morning, right? We talked about why did the husband check on his wife sooner? Why were they sounding defensive? Why did they feel they needed to give a cause of death that quickly? People are going to talk and bloggers are going to blog, right? You grieve and take time. Those were some of the questions we had in our previous video.
Didn't make it any better that her uncle then got on and said,
now, like I said, the uncle over the weekend calls out Letitia, her mother, and Letitia's husband for the way they mistreated Keke and how they made Keke feel like crap. They damaged that girl mentally. And remember, she was already struggling with addiction. It's easy mentally for them to be broken down, even for them to relapse, to be quite honest. They didn't handle her as they should have, delicately. They knew about her struggles. At least we saw her tell Melody that she had an addiction problem. The uncle also told cast members to not attend any services for Keke, no memorial services, and don't come to her funeral. We were like, whoa. Not only that, he said, you don't know what's going on, so why are you talking to bloggers? You are not in the room when we, the family, are making plans.
Stop going to these bloggers, feeding them information about what's going on, because you don't know what's going on. You have no clue because you're not inside the room. So you have no right whatsoever to be putting out any information about Keke whatsoever. So
I remember one of the first cast members of Love and Marriage Huntsville to make a statement after Keke's passing was Letitia. She also said that we, the family, are asking for respect and privacy while we grieve Keke. Basically, the uncle is saying, who told you to say that? We never gave you permission to speak on our behalf. And they're saying that these cast members are talking to bloggers, giving bloggers statements about Keke when the family has not permitted them to do so. Then that made me ask, so the statement, the original cause of death given supposedly by the family to YouTuber Joanne Jenkins, who gave it to her? Where did that come from? Did that come from a cast member presenting themselves as a family? We know Joanne Jenkins is a family friend, but did that statement come from Keke's immediate family? Now, I may not know Joanne Jenkins, but I don't think she just decided to go to her platform and make that statement. Someone gave her that statement with a cause of death. The anchor also said they've spent months circled around Keke trying to build her up because the show broke her down so much, is what I got from that statement. It looks like they were trying to pull her back up from the sunken place she was in, right? That show basically broke her down and the family was trying to build her up, but I guess it was not enough.
And saying that the way they treated her and the way they isolated her left her mentally unstable and yada, 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 yada. And she was broken and so on and so forth. And then, you know, basically alluding to the fact that the stress and the drama and all of that from the show is what drove her off the deep end.
According to him, the show, the cast members, especially the ones he named, and the show itself pushed her to the edge. And he said, you pushed her to this. And the moment I heard him say, you pushed her to this, I was like, pushed her to what? What do you mean they pushed her to this? What does this mean?
And you pushed her. You pushed her to this. So we blame you. Absolutely. We blame you.
Therefore, guys, we were right to question the first statement. If the uncle is saying the show pushed her to the edge and they pushed her to this, and he said, had it not been for love and marriage, Huntsville, Keke would still be here. The question is, how if it was a tragic accident?
She would be here if it wasn't for that stupid show.
Right? Let's suppose that those cast members were mean to her, which they were not the best to her, I can agree. But let's suppose everything the uncle said is true. But then the initial cause of death said it was a tragic accident. She fell asleep and carbon monoxide rose to toxic levels. And unfortunately, it took Keke's life. How then could the cast members be blamed for that? For her falling asleep in a car in the garage and it being a tragic accident, right? Unless the uncle is saying it was self-inflicted. We don't know. Again, we are asking questions because if it was self-inflicted, then this is another narrative from the original one we got, right? So is he saying that indeed carbon monoxide took her life, but it was not an accident? I also saw somebody in the comments say that I guess they saw it on their local news that the car was actually outside the garage. I don't know. Okay. So once again, the way the family is moving is what is raising all these questions. I think at this point, the family just needs to grieve. They're going through a difficult time. They need to grieve. They don't need to come to social media until they've taken the time. Then they can give us an official cause of death. And another thing that I noticed, so they had a memorial service for Keke in Alabama, of course. The local news covered this memorial service over the weekend. The attendees were dressed in purple t-shirts. They released purple balloons. It was absolutely beautiful.
1, 2, 3, go. We love you.
But the local news said the cause of death has not yet been released. And we know local news, they have connections with the medical examiner's office. So they would know if the autopsy was ready or not. And they said no. No cause of death has been released.
Now, Jabbar's cause of death has not been reported. Her family is asking for respect and privacy as they're grieving right now.
So I go back to the same question. Who gave Joanne Jenkins that statement with a cause of death, that Keke's death was a tragic accident, carbon monoxide poisoning? The local news said cause of death has not been released. The anchor said that if it were not for the show, she would still be here, and that she was pushed to the edge, and that she was pushed to this. So we have the right to ask. Keke was a public figure. Unfortunately, Keke is no longer with us. But again, the way the family is moving is what is causing all of these questions. That's all. And I feel like if it was self-inflicted, and because the family is choosing to speak to the public, they are missing the opportunity to educate people. Just like I told you guys, somebody in the comments said, I do that. I sleep in my car with the car running sometimes. I will never do it again. So whether it was self-inflicted or a tragic accident, they are missing the opportunity to educate people. They have a broader audience because of who Keke is and was. Anyway, guys, that's the latest we have on Keke Jabbar. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Until the next one. Bye.